Donald Trump's trade wars are making waves, but some Atlanta-based giants are standing strong. Coca-Cola and Delta Airlines seem confident about what's ahead. Today, Coca-Cola reported better-than-expected earnings for the first quarter, and its CFO mentioned that the current tariffs should be manageable. Right now, there's a 25% tariff on imported aluminum, the kind used in soda cans. But Coca-Cola recently said it could work around this by finding new aluminum suppliers or using more plastic and glass bottles. Then everything went silent. Boardrooms across America froze. Stocks reacted nervously. Legal teams waited on standby. Then the headlines hit. Not from the government, but from somewhere more shadowy. Coca-Cola is leaving the U.S. because of Trump's tariffs. No official statement, no confirmation, just chaos. Twitter exploded. Facebook went wild. TikTok flooded with dramatic AI voiceovers shouting betrayal and economic collapse. The same brand that once stood for American pride was, according to the viral rumor mill, abandoning the country, unable to survive Trump's trade policies. Have you subscribed yet? You won't want to miss our next upload. Thank you, and let's continue. But as usual, the truth was hidden beneath the noise. And today it came to light. This isn't satire. This isn't clickbait. What unfolded inside Coca-Cola today, in courtrooms across America, and within corporate boardrooms, is part of a bigger, more serious story. It's not just about soda. It's not even just about tariffs. It's about power, public perception, and the quiet but growing standoff between the White House and corporate America. So what really happened? Before we dive deeper, don't forget to hit that like button to help us out with the YouTube algorithm and show your support. It all began with a lie, a well-made, fast-spreading lie. Early this morning, AI-generated YouTube videos started popping up, all pushing the same story. Coca-Cola was shutting down its U.S. plants and moving production overseas. Some of these videos used real clips from past shareholder calls, edited with voice filters to sound like Coca-Cola's CEO. Others included screenshots of fake press releases claiming Coca-Cola would leave the U.S. entirely by the end of 2025. But Coca-Cola never said that. By midday, the company officially denied the claims, calling them completely false. In fact, Coca-Cola made it clear that it wasn't going anywhere. Its U.S. operations, including many bottling plants and a wide distribution network, remain fully active. However, what Coca-Cola did say was more complex and more telling. On a private investor call, Coca-Cola admitted that the tariffs introduced by Trump were indeed raising production costs. The 25% tariff on foreign aluminum had increased the cost of making cans. So the company was adapting, buying more aluminum from within the U.S., relying less on foreign sources, and possibly switching more products to plastic bottles. This was a business move, not a political one, and certainly not a signal that Coca-Cola was pulling out of the United States. But the internet doesn't care much for nuance. In today's fast-moving media world, complexity is lost. All it took was one whisper, then a tweet, then 1,000 YouTube thumbnails. Coca-Cola leaves America. Except it didn't. Still, something even more serious was happening in the background. While the internet obsessed over the Coca-Cola hoax, something major unfolded at 10 a.m. this morning. 12 U.S. states, including New York, Oregon, and Illinois, filed a lawsuit in the U.S. Court of International Trade. Their 98-page filing accuses President Trump of abusing his powers by imposing these new tariffs. According to the suit, Trump used the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, normally meant for national threats or cyber attacks, to justify the tariffs. But critics argue this law was never intended for economic policy. As one official bluntly put it, a trade deficit isn't the same as a missile strike. You can't use emergency powers to wreck our supply chains. The states claim that these sweeping tariffs, which now affect nearly all imported goods, represent a serious overreach of presidential power. They argue that the law doesn't give the president the authority to create broad tariffs on imports without Congress's approval. And the stakes are huge. If the courts agree, the entire tariff structure could collapse. But if the ruling favors Trump, it would set a new precedent. Future presidents could freely impose trade taxes under emergency powers, completely bypassing Congress. So, while Coca-Cola was busy clearing up fake headlines, the real fight was unfolding in federal court. And this case could reshape how much power a president really has. Before we go any further, make sure to hit that subscribe button to support the channel. But the legal challenges didn't end there. Just this month, a group of small businesses also sued the Trump administration. These weren't major corporations. They were small, family-run operations, importers of auto parts and sellers of niche electronics. They all had one message: the tariffs were crushing them. One business owner from Ohio told reporters, "We've spent years building solid relationships with overseas suppliers. Now we're being penalized for not making everything here at home, even though that was never the agreement." Their lawsuit, like the others, targets the use of emergency powers and argues that the tariffs are doing lasting damage to small businesses that can't just switch their operations overnight. The judge overseeing both cases has moved them up the calendar. Experts say a decision could arrive in just a few weeks. If either lawsuit wins, we could see the whole tariff system begin to unravel. Meanwhile, tensions are boiling over in the corporate world. At a closed-door business summit today, a top Ford executive warned that tariffs on steel and aluminum were causing both confusion and serious cost hikes. The auto sector, which depends on smooth global supply chains, has had to delay deliveries, absorb massive price increases, and even scrap some vehicle models. Walmart, which had stayed silent for a while, just confirmed in a filing that it may soon need to raise prices across its stores. The reason? They can't keep eating the cost of these new import taxes. Tech companies are also sounding alarms. One executive from a major smartphone company said tariffs could drive up the price of high-end phones by more than 20% before year's end. In short, the financial pressure is real and growing. And it's not just hurting trade partners overseas. It's reaching into American homes and wallets. Then there's Warren Buffett. In a rare direct rebuke, the legendary investor told shareholders, the U.S. should not turn trade into a weapon. The long-term harm from economic conflict far outweighs any short-term benefit. He didn't mention Trump by name. He didn't need to. The message rang loud and clear. Buffett's remarks joined a rising chorus, CEOs, economists, governors, all calling for a serious rethink of the trade war approach. Yet despite mounting pressure, the administration is holding its ground. A senior official at the White House reiterated the president's stance earlier today, stating, "The president strongly believes tariffs are the only effective tool to level the playing field. Other nations will blink before we do." But while that message plays strong in front of the cameras, the atmosphere behind closed doors is far less confident. According to recent leaks from insiders at the Treasury Department, contingency plans are already being quietly drafted. Plans to pivot if and when the courts strike down the tariffs. It's a sign that even within the government, not everyone is convinced this strategy will hold. And that brings us back to Coca-Cola. Now, let's be clear. Coca-Cola hasn't filed any lawsuits. It hasn't threatened to pack up and leave the country. Not officially, not even unofficially. But that didn't stop its name from being dragged into the storm of public opinion today. One viral post swept across social media like wildfire, declaring, "If Coca-Cola's pulling out, who's next? Ford? Apple? Walmart?" It didn't matter that the claim wasn't true. What mattered was the reaction. The post wasn't aiming to inform. It was crafted to provoke, to spark panic, to sow fear. Fear that if even Coca-Cola, the embodiment of American branding, could be touched by this trade war, then nothing was safe. Nothing was untouchable. And today, that fear hit hard, not because Coca-Cola actually moved, but because millions of people believed it did. Welcome to the age of viral truth, where perception often moves faster than reality, and where facts are left gasping to catch up. So what now? The lawsuits are still grinding their way through the courts. The tariffs remain in full force. Prices are rising, on everything from raw materials to consumer goods. And trust? It's eroding, fast. Trust in institutions, trust in markets, trust in leadership itself. This trade war has evolved. It's no longer just a geopolitical standoff. It's now a cultural war between citizens and headlines, between governments and the very laws they swore to uphold, between what's real and whatever the next algorithm decides to show us. In moments like this, facts become our most valuable currency. So here's one to hold on to. As of this moment, Coca-Cola is still an American company. But tomorrow, that could change. Depending on how long this storm keeps raging. Stay tuned for more hot news from 3 Daily News. Catch you in the next one.